What's up, good people? It's your boy AJ Woodson, AJ Rock from the legendary JVC Force. It's another webisode, I guess you call it, of my new web series, Relax and Take Notes. So, today we're going to be talking about from the 914 to 516 and back again. I find a lot of people find it a little confusing. So I'm AJ Woodson. I'm the editor-in-chief of a publication called Black Westchester. I'm working on a new book called A Look at Hip Hop from the 914. But hip hop heads know me as AJ Rock from JVC Force, a group that came out of Central Islip, Long Island, and I made the record Strong Island. And I just performed at and spoke at the Long Island Music and Entertainment Hall of Fame. Shout out to everybody involved in that. Thank you for inviting me. So I find that a lot of people ask me, so where you from? Actually, I was interviewing Lord Jamal from Brand Nubians, and that was one of the first questions he asked me. He said, where you from? You from Long Island, right? I said, nah, actually I was born in Mount Vernon. He said, but you AJ Rock from JVC Force, and he started singing my verse. And I'm like, yeah. So he wanted to hear that story. And, I find that I tell this story often. So I figured, let me make that an episode. So from 914 to 516 and back again. So I was born in Mount Vernon, New York. Right? And at some point, my father, who's from New Rochelle, my mom's, who's from Mount Vernon, my mom's family's from Mount Vernon. So they wanted me to have, I guess, you want your kids to, have better than you had. So they end up buying a house in Central Islip, Long Island. For people that don't know, that's Suffolk County. That's about 45 miles, 45 to an hour with no traffic from Mount Vernon. So across the Throgs Neck, Whitestone, or Bridge, and you go from the Bronx to Queens, and then Nassau to Suffolk. So I moved out to Central Islip, Long Island when I'm like 7. We move into this new development. It's black-owned, black development called American Estates. In Central Islip, they called it the New D, the new development. It basically was more suburban than like Mount Vernon. Most people had like their parents, each had a car. Both were like some sort, not always professionals. Like my dad worked for Tarrytown. Used to take that trip every day from Tarrytown and Westchester back to Central Islip, Long Island. My mom's was working for Fairchild. I don't know if they're still around, but they were like the competition to like Grumman and I forgot the joint in Atlanta that everybody knows. But they did like airplanes and stuff for the military. So my mom's works there in Long Island. So I moved out there when I'm 7. And, I always came back to Mount Vernon for the summers, for the holidays. My grandfather lived on Monday Lane. For the old school people, real old school, my grandfather was Fats, Leroy Henderson, they called him Fats. Everybody knew him. Everybody knew my cousin, my uncle, Kevin Clark. He used to cut hair modernistic. Everybody used to get their hair cut by him. He used to do the model and stuff. Anyway, so I'm in Long Island, but I'm coming back to Westchester all the time. So I'm coming back to Mount Vernon all the time. Then at some point, my parents get divorced. My grandfather passes when I'm like 11. You know what I'm saying? I took that kind of hard. And my parents divorced shortly after, and my dad goes back to Mount Vernon. At this point, I'm like a rebel without a pause or cause, probably driving my mom's crazy. We lived on what you would call a good side of town, and all. I only wanted to hang across Lowell for the people in Central Islip, Long Island, the Long Island heads, Strong Island heads. I always wanted to be around Lowell Avenue, Carlton Park, which is more like the hood part of town. You know what I'm saying? It was more fun over there. You know what I'm saying? So, I was always over there trying to talk to girls over there. Anyway, so my parents get divorced. I drive my mom's a little, I'm a rebel without a pause or cause. Mom's like, okay, you going with your dad to Mount Vernon. So I moved back to Mount Vernon for 10th grade. So, a lot of people in Mount Vernon, when they be telling stories about middle school and all that, I don't got them stories because I was in Long Island then from 7 to 14. I came back for 10th grade, went to Mount Vernon High School. But before that, going back and forth to Westchester, hip hop was, starting to bubble a little bit. I started out as a DJ. A lot of people don't know that. Started out as a DJ first. We ain't really have like turntables yet. Like, I had like the record changer thing with the radio on it, and it had like either like a thing where you like a 8-track or a cassette attached to it or whatever, and I had another record player. It had the thing with the middle, the arm used to come across, all that, for the records. So I was a DJ first, so I used to DJ in Long Island. Started rhyming a little bit. Started going back to Mount Vernon for the summer. Started hearing like tapes of Cold Crush and early tapes of Zulu Nation, and would get the tapes and bring them back to Central Islip. But ain't nobody out there had tapes like that, so that shit was always good. I was always the dude everybody remembers with the big box, like Radio Raheem. Always had the big box. So I come back to Mount Vernon. Ended up going to high school with like Heavy D. Only I didn't really know him. I knew his brother Floyd was more my age. Pete Rock, I met him later because he was younger. He was like friends with my cousin Warren Kent. Went to school with Albie Shore. My cousin Richard Dixon and Peter Rogers. And New Rochelle, I used to always hang in New Rochelle. And I used to see Grand Pooba way before Brand New Beings with him and his cousin Todd, Doctor Who. Used to do the routines, like crazy routines back in the days in the park when they used to battle and everything. So I used to see all that. So I had all that. And, I was in high school, was rapping the whole nine. That's where I actually got my name, AJ Rock. I was in commercial art class, and there was this graffiti dude down with Rem and them. AK Rock was his name. And he actually named me AJ Rock. Then there was this next dude, I think we was in art class together. He was a graffiti artist too. His name was Daryl Rhodes. His name was Derol, Daryl. But his graffiti name was Deroc, Deroc. And I was so impressed that you could spell the word rock. I had never seen nobody spell the word rock without both the C and the K. But this is like 82, 83. Biting is not even an option. You can't do just what everybody else is doing because they did it. So since he dropped the K, I dropped the C and became AJ Rock. And then I used to run with the graffiti cats from TGF. I was never really affiliated, a real member, but I used to run with them. And I lived on the corner by my house, the 11th Avenue, Monday Lane. The yellow line down the middle of the street was the borderline of the Bronx and Mount Vernon. And 4th Street turns to 241st, so my whole graffiti name was AJ ROK 241 because it was 241st. So anyway, we rhyming and everything. We doing our thing. I'm hanging with my cousin. I'm seeing everybody. I'm catching all that. So after high school, I end up going back to Long Island to my mom's house. And that's when I get cats in the neighborhood, Rodney Norman, my next door neighbor, and my dude, like he was like my brother, Mike Walls. They're telling me Billy Taylor and Curtis Smalls, they both a couple of years younger than me. I really ain't know Kurt yet. But Billy lived around the corner. I knew him when I was 7 and he was 5 when I first got out there. So they were starting to do their thing a little bit, you know. So they were doing a party for some girl on. I live near the borderline of Central Islip and Brentwood. This was across Islip Avenue on the Brentwood side. They ended up doing this party for this girl. So Rodney and Mike said, "Yo, go." You know, Mike's like, "Yo, you going? You going?" So we go. I go to the party, and they're like, "Yo, let A-Rod, let AJ get on the mic. Let AJ get on the mic." So, you know, they let me get on the mic. I do my little routines, my little rhymes or whatever. And, you know, Bill, who is B Love for all of y'all, you know, he ain't going to let nobody show him up on his set. So I won't say we battled, but we ended up going back and forth, back and forth. I would say a rhyme or two. He would say a rhyme or two. We was going back and forth. At the end of the night, everybody talked about how great we sounded together. And the next day, we all met up at Kurt's Garage, and you know they already had JVC as a name. It was just JVC. I don't know if it was JVC for us or not, but anyway, it was we actually, you know, I joined the group and we actually start like routines, working on routines almost every day in Kurt's Garage or wherever. You know what I'm saying? Where he had the set, and we start making demos and stuff. So this is why I entered the game in hip hop, and I have a record called Strong Island. So we send out our joints to all the labels and stuff, and B-Boy Records is the first one to really call us. Now at the time I'm working, I don't know where I'm working. I'm working some commercial, doing architectural drafting. Actually, me and Dave from Dayla actually went to Island Drafting and Technical Institute in Amityville together before either one of us was really in the groups. Like, you know what I'm saying? When I first came back, you know, you went back to mom's house. Mom's like, "Yo, you need a job. You know, you ain't gonna just be laying around here." So I went into the little Technical Institute, and I was nice with the art. So I, you know, did the little architectural drafting. My mom's had to me this real big drafting table from her job. You know, saying do airplane stuff is big. Like this drafting table is literally big enough. You could probably put a full size mattress on top of it. It was that big. So I ended up getting that. So we you know, I ended up doing that, and so we get a call from B-Boy. We head down. Actually, the label don't think that I'm part of the group. They think I'm the lawyer because I'm coming from work. I got a suit on and I got a briefcase. They think I'm the lawyer or something. So anyway, we get the deal, and we didn't have Strong Island at the time. We had this other song, New School, which I'm not actually on, and they wanted something for the B-side, and then we made Strong Island, which a lot of labels told us later would have got us signed anyway, but it didn't exist when we were shopping. So anyway, this is the story of how Strong Island comes about. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we doing the thing. Comes like a little underground classic, like a little anthem, you know, for the region, and then but you know, I'm still like, if you hear some of the rhymes from the group, you'll hear me talk about Mount Vernon. You hear me say Mount V. You hear me always shout out Mount Vernon in all the rhymes. Like Bill was born in Brooklyn, so you hear him talk about Brooklyn in some of his rhymes. You know, so that's the story, like in a nutshell, how I was born in Mount Vernon, how I represent, and I live in Mount Vernon now. I went to high school in Mount Vernon, and I rep Mount Vernon, and I got a publication called Black Westchester. Y'all all know that story by now. I've told that a bunch of times, and I got a book on it, the origin story. Y'all can go check that out. It's on Amazon. Basically, you know, I live in Mount Vernon, and I live in Westchester. We got Black Westchester, and I'll be documenting, you know, all the history of black people in Westchester. So that's why my third book, the one I'm working on now, is a look at hip hop from the 914. But in interviewing people for my book and going to the Long Island Music and Entertainment Hall of Fame the Sunday before Father's Day, it became very apparent People like Ralph McDaniels from Video Music Box and others were like, yo, that's cool, but you know you got to have a Strong Island book next. So after I do this book that hopefully will be out in the fall, there will be a book called Strong Island. I don't know if it'll be on the whole region, if it'll be on the group. I'm not sure what it's going to be about. It might be about the making of the record, the whole nine. I don't know. But there will be a Strong Island book that follows on hip hop from Long Island. I don't know. I hope that clears it up because, yo, a lot of people be asking me, like, okay, so you from 914, but your record, I'm walking around and I got like DJs like Tri-State Jericho throwing on my joint in this Strong Island. And I live in Mount Vernon. Like, why are you making records about Long Island? Like, so shout to all my people from Central Islip, Long Island, and the areas around it, Brentwood, Amityville. I made a lot of friends. I met Prince Paul when he was DJ Paul, when we both was like 16, through my man Mike Walls, who was from Amityville, but was living in Central Islip at the time. And we was at a cookout at his house, and we went, he took me around the town, around Amityville. He introduced me to actually two DJ Pauls. There was two DJ Pauls. One went to the military, and the other one y'all now know as Prince Paul. So yeah, I got to know a lot of these cats before, like when I was out there for the summer. I was living in Mount Vernon, but I was going to Long Island for the summers. So me and my boy Robert Staples, that was like my brother from another. You know what I'm saying? He would come out with me out to Long Island all the time. So I the person you see here, I got the best of both worlds. I got the Westchester, the Mount Vernon, the borderline of the Bronx in me, and then I got to live in a place like